Good afternoon, everyone. This is Andy Reese with Department on Disability Services. Welcome. I want to thank Winslow for putting together that slideshow we just saw in recognition of African American History Month and intersection of disability and race, and a lot of interesting advocates for people with disabilities. So first up, just a couple of quick announcements. I don't know if Peter Steffen is with us here today, but just making an announcement that, and for people who did not attend the hearing yesterday and already hear this, Peter Steffen has been appointed as the interim director of the Office of Disability Rights. So congratulations to Peter. We also had a slide up just a couple seconds ago, right before we started. I guess it was a full minute ago. The Advocate for Equity Awards nominations are currently being accepted at our Developmental Disability Awareness Month event at the end of March. We will be making awards to celebrate people and organizations who make a real difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities. You can submit your nomination of leaders who speak up for disability rights, support inclusion across all parts of community life, and work to ensure everyone has fair access to opportunities. Nominations must be received by March 6, 2026. The QR code in order to access where to get the nomination, where to submit nominations was online. If you have questions, you may also write, I will put this in the chat, either Kevin Wright or Carla McCaskill, both at the DD Council, and I will put their emails in the chat for you. Next up, if Allison White is with us, Allison is just going to provide an overview of what all of our various activities will be during Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month.
Hi, everyone. This is Allison White. Thank you, Andy. I'm going to share my screen. What I am sharing is the DD Awareness Month flyer. So that, and I'm just going to walk through it so that everybody gets an overview of what's going on for DD Awareness Month. And I'll also put some of this information in the chat. So 2026 DD Awareness Month will kick off next Wednesday. Well, it starts March 1st, but our first event will be next Wednesday, March 4th. And that's called A Journey Toward Inclusivity, a Legacy of Access and Justice. And that will be a screening of some of the videos from the Judith campaign. So some of you may already be familiar with that. The Judith campaign is a communications campaign of the Developmental Disabilities Council that highlights stories of people with disabilities about their life, their jobs, whatever feels meaningful and important, and to promote awareness. So that will be from 5:30 to 7 at the Pepco Edison Place Gallery in the Chinatown Penn Quarter area. The address is 702 8th Street Northwest. We will have sign language interpretation for that. And then the day after that, the Ethiopian and Eritrean special needs community is having their monthly parent cafe. And we wanted to highlight it here for DD Awareness Month. Their parent cafe is in the evening from 7:30 to 8:30. And it is typically in Amharic. they will have English interpretation for this one if folks want to join who don't speak Amharic. And I'll put these links in the chat. Then Tuesday, March 10th, there's a disability awareness training for employers and managers called Ask It Basket. And Sylvia Bailey Charles with DDS will be facilitating that. And she's done this for the last few years for DD Awareness Month to try to incorporate awareness around disability in the workplace. That will be a great training. Then Saturday, March 14th, Project Action, which is DC's Self-Advocacy Coalition and Lifeline Partnership, will have their DD Awareness Month celebration from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's at the First Trinity Lutheran Church down here by Judiciary Square. It's at 501 4th Street Northwest. For anybody that knows the Marion Barry Building at 441 4th Street, right at the Judiciary Square Metro. First Trinity Lutheran Church is right across the street. And then Wednesday, March 18th, we are planning a Women in Leadership Community Panel discussion called Her Story, Her Power. This has some details to still be hammered down, so we'll follow up with those once they come in, but it will be from 4 to 6 p.m. Then Thursday, March 26th is the Advocate for Equity Award ceremony. This is what Andy just mentioned related to the Advocate for Equity Award nominations. So we encourage everybody to submit nominations for somebody that you think is a wonderful advocate for equity that we want to acknowledge during DD Awareness Month. So that ceremony will be from 3 to 5 p.m. at DDS down at 250 East Street Southwest. And we are expecting some of our elected officials to be there to read a proclamation and a resolution about DD Awareness Month and to have a good time with each other. So we hope everyone will come out for that. Then Saturday, March 28th is Project Action's monthly meeting. And during DD Awareness Month, they usually do something unique and special to acknowledge that. And that's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I think location is still to be announced. If somebody knows something different, please feel free to jump in or put it in the chat. I know they we're considering virtual versus in person, so working that out. And then Monday, March 30th, Quality Trust has their annual Better Together reception from 5 to 7 p.m. And that's inside the Arlo Hotel at 333 G Street Northwest. And I'll put that link in the chat as well. And this is part of our DD Awareness Month Planning Committee, which includes representatives from all these organizations, community organizations, government organizations that work together to plan all of this stuff. So we're really grateful for all of that. Any questions for me? All right. Thank you. I'll be here for the rest of the meeting. So if people have more questions, I'll be around.
And thanks to all the folks on that committee. You all have really put together a lot of events this year, like every year. So thanks a lot for that. Next up, I know last month we talked some about, as people are aware, we're starting a remote support pilot program. And last month we had some information provided about remote supports. So we've actually invited someone again this month to talk more about remote supports. Matt Wright, the director of sales at Simply Home, is going to talk to us about the equipment that's available to support people remotely. So I'll just turn it over to Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what a treat it is. So Friday afternoon after lunch to get the opportunity to end the week talking remote supports and sensor-based technology through Simply Home. So my ask today is I am tired of giving the pitch and talking for the week and would love the opportunity to just have a conversation. So if there are people on that have questions, or as I introduce something, there is a question or a deeper dive asked, I would love that. I would love that for us to be able to discuss in greater detail and introduce questions to this conversation. So there's a back and forth. Feel free to do that by unmuting yourself or in the chat. We are Simply Home. And next slide, please. So Simply Home is an enabling tech vendor out of Asheville, North Carolina. So we serve thousands of individuals. We have thousands of locations, and we serve over 300 providers across the nation. We are in 33 states, and we've been in business for over 20 years. The whole intent for us to launch our business was because we were struggling as a provider to figure out how to best serve individuals, their independence, while providing in-person care. And so we couldn't figure that out well. We had all of the staffing and the issues that you can imagine that many providers on this call would have. And we needed to figure something out. And so we looked towards technology to help us. Next slide. So Simply Home uses sensor-based technology in the home, as well as live remote support service. So we have a call center out of Memphis, Tennessee, and Asheville, North Carolina, where we staff 24/7 remote DSP support. And we've had tremendous success with it. We think it's a vital need and a vital service. And it pairs with some of our proprietary sensor-based technology that we put in the home. So think about bed sensors, motion sensors, door sensors, stove sensors, and the list goes on and on. And by pairing those and those exceptions or those alerts or those triggers tied to our remote support, we can create opportunities for independence, even with or in work with in-person care. Next slide. So I want to clarify. So there is assistive technology, which is wildly valuable and has been around forever. And that is very specific products for very specific needs. So think about a reacher or a grabber or a grab bar or durable medical equipment, DME. Enabling technology falls under assistive tech, but really is specific to, it's a form of technology to support the independence of any individual where they live, work, and play. And so I'm going to highlight the image in the middle here is a device. It's called the Boundary Care Watch. It falls on the Apple, it's an Apple iWatch product. And it measures heart rate and pulse ox and a number of biometric screenings, but it also does GPS alerts and seizure detection symptoms and fall detection risk. It is an awesome device that simply is worn for business as usual. The individual supported wears it and just lives life as they normally would, but the technology provides alerts and sensors and information necessary where our remote support staff or you as the provider, your remote support staff can engage and support and help. Next slide. All right, so the crux of this conversation today is remote support. And remote support is like the kind of the gold rush of the nation and of interest and technology has wildly improved to enhance remote support. And the whole goal of remote support is to be as close to in-person support as possible while still serving remotely. And so I think that explains itself, but it can show up in so many different perspectives, so many different directions, and it can really be engaged in so many different devices today. Technology itself is wildly improving and wildly changing, and remote support can occur in a number of different ways. Next slide, please. All right, so remote support, what is it? It is direct support provided in a remote capacity, like we had talked about, in conjunction with various forms of technology. So think about these three examples and think about how wildly different they are. But ultimately, when you strip them away, it's literally just trying to serve and support the individual. So John does not want anything more. He wants as much independence as possible. And he needs some prompts and some guidance and some support around taking his medication. So John is an active customer of ours. He takes medication 5 times per day. And he simply wants a text reminder of that. Hey, did you take your medicine? Are you good? Is there anything you need from me? He's not looking for a video chat or a phone call or anything more. He just wants some prompt and some support, and to know that at any given time, if he needs us, we are available and we are on. So we do that through John's cell phone, and we do that through an app on John's phone. Rashid loves the conversation. He loves talking to people. He's very extroverted. He will admit to that, and he wants to talk to people as much as he can. And so he is not interested in a video chat. He's not interested in texting. He likes a phone call. And so for Rashid, we offer remote support and we build rapport just through a phone call. And then lastly, for this example, Shelly loves to cook. She loves to cook. She has some anxiety at night that we want to help her and support her with, but she wants a video conversation. So what we call it is a HIPAA compliant video chat. So Shelly says, hey, if I get out of bed in the middle of the night and I don't get back in bed in 20 minutes, I'd really love to talk to somebody. So our remote support team would drop in on that tablet and do a video call. So think about many of you do FaceTime. So think about some version of a HIPAA compliant FaceTime, and just to support and redirect and to be there for empathy and guidance and whatever direction that conversation goes for Shelly. All three of these examples are wildly different, but they're all remote support. Next slide, please. All right, so Simply Home does quite a bit of consulting. And so for providers specifically, we got to have a general idea of the vision and the direction the provider wants to go. And that can go in 3 ways. So hopefully there's a number of providers on and they're thinking, hey, are we a tech-first organization? And do we offer remote support? Or do we want to offer remote support in the coming months? And so the provider-led model is, I'm going to take full ownership. I'm going to own the remote support team. I'm going to hire them. I will train them. I will support them. And they will be on as an extension of our organization. That is making sure you're prepared and ready. You might already be for a 24/7 operation. You handle the sensor-based technology, the assessments, the installations, the in-person support as needed. You name it, it is yours. You also get the financial benefit of, is this a good fit for our organization? Is it appropriate? And how does that look for support for the state? The exact same or the competing solution for that is a vendor-led model. And so you would utilize someone like Simply Home and say, hey, that's not in our wheelhouse. You handle all of that. You hire the remote support staff. You handle the sensor-based technology. You handle the support, the maintenance, the replacing batteries, the technology, you name it. The vendor handles it. And there is a give and take to that. And then lastly, the model, a very common model, it's part of our consulting, is, hey, a hybrid model might look great. And so the provider has individuals in mind that would be a great fit for remote support and launching remote support, but they don't want to invest up front. They want to get a very good feel as to the costs, the expense, and the benefits of it. So it's vendor-led at the beginning, and then it slowly transitions over to the provider-led model. And still to this day, you know, we serve thousands of individuals across the nation, and very common for providers is they might take the day shift and we take the night shift, or we take weekends. Whatever that looks like, it is in hybrid, just great communication and a great handoff during shifts between the vendor and the provider. Next slide. All right, I'm going to pause there for a second to see if there are any questions. There we go. I got one question in the chat. Generally, how many individuals are assigned to remote support staff? Great question. There's only a handful of remote support vendors across the nation, and very typically it's 15 to 1 is the ratio, and Simply Home does 10 to 1. And so that's to try to answer that question as direct as possible. It's typically 10 to 1 for that.
Could I just jump in for 1 second and say that for people who would do provider-led in DC, they should look at our waiver, because it does include the ratios, which vary depending on time of day and service being provided. Because like overnight, the ratio is much higher, of course.
Yep.
And then during the day, I think it's as low as 6 to 1 at some points.
Love it. Love it. That's great.
All of that is in our waiver.
Great. All right, so I'm going to dive in. There are 2 paths that Simply Home offers, and it's very common nationally. So say you care nothing about Simply Home, there are 2 paths that are very common for remote support across the nation. One of those we call active remote support. It is the most common, it is the most consistent form of remote support across the nation. And everyone usually looks at the cost first. And so that cost is $9.48 per hour. That is a national average. So that's what we see in the 33 states that we support. That is the average that we see this cost being. The goal of active remote support is to be as close to in-person support as possible, just performed remotely. And so there is a set schedule. There are specific start and end times. There is a handoff of whatever occurred during that shift. It hands off to the next in-person support that might be coming on. There are opportunities where we support learning, or we are there for encouragement, or we are there to grow and support reminders. You name it, the intent is high touch, high activity, high connection, and it is what we call active remote support. Next slide. Okay, secondly, this one's less common, but nationally becoming of significant interest because of the pricing. And so it is a just a base, consistent, flat rate. So you'll see here, I put the flat monthly fee is $400 per month. and that includes sensor-based technology plus remote support. It's easy to budget for, and it's easy for awareness. But in DC, I think it's called on-demand remote support. We would call it responsive remote support. And so the intent here is that there are sensors in the home, and that the support is provided only when an exception or an alert is triggered, or the individual being supported wants to reach out and connect. And so I used that example earlier of Shelly. She wanted to call out in the middle of the night. And so when she hits a button on the tablet, that calls straight to the remote support team, and they engage, they support, they do everything possible to try to help whatever situation occurs. And so I'm going to talk through the sensors for a minute, but these are two very distinct paths. So one is just a flat fee per person that includes technology. And then again, that path number one, that active remote support, is an hourly fee that's very high touch, doing everything possible to develop a relationship and rapport and scheduling a shift to offer remote support. All right, next slide. All right, before I talk sensors, I'll ask for any other questions. All right, so Simply Home offers sensor-based technology in the home. So again, the intent here is that it is wildly inobtrusive. It is basically hidden for just daily life. And then if there is an exception, an alert or a trigger would occur. So this is a picture of just a single bedroom home or an apartment. And my hope here is that as providers or as a community, picture yourself in this home and picture your loved ones in this home and someone that might benefit from being supported by technology. So I've got a bed sensor in the top left corner of this image, and the bed sensor lays on the mattress. Now, the bed sensor just lets us know whether an individual is in the bed or not. And maybe we really don't care about that. Maybe all we care about is, did someone get out of bed between midnight and 5 a.m. and not back into bed within 20 minutes? And so let's say they got out of bed, no big deal. They got out of bed and they're pacing in the living room, or they're walking around the house in the middle of the night, and they have not gotten back into bed within 20 minutes. Then our remote support team needs to drop in and engage, redirect, or just hear what's going on. And so in the bottom left corner is a flood sensor. That's what that looks like. It's a water sensor. It just detects whether there's water or not. In many scenarios, we put that water sensor in the corner of a bathroom. So if the toilet overflowed, or if the shower overflowed, or if the sink overflowed, we would get an alert that there is water on the floor and some response needs to occur. And so we can do that by text, by email, by phone call, or by video call. And then I'm going to say worst case scenario. I don't even mean it that way. The last significant step would be, we can't help that remotely, and we've got to engage in in-person support. And so we would have a response protocol on our platform that ultimately says, hey, if we couldn't fix it, this is the in-person support that we need to contact to say there's water in the bathroom, this is a concern and an issue, please go by and support. And we would document that, and then we'd have a conversation about that. In the bottom right corner is a stove sensor. Stove sensor is wildly popular. So many people love to cook. They have a desire to cook, and maybe they just need some prompts or some safety behind that. And a very common approach for us as we program our sensors is the stove sensor lets us know that the stove is on. The motion sensor that we would pair with that lets us know if there's movement in the kitchen. So maybe we don't care that the stove is on. Maybe that's part of business as normal and not a big deal. But we do want to know if there's no movement in the kitchen and the stove is on for 30 minutes. And then again, we can drop in through a tablet and have a conversation. We could do a speaker prompt that says, "Hey, Mr. Smith, please don't forget to turn your stove off." Or we could call or text or email anyone to engage. It all depends on how the individual that we support would like to receive communication. And then lastly, we've talked about door and window sensors at very often. And, it really helps with elopement risk or concern of, hey, I don't care when the window opens or the door opens throughout the day, but I do want to know if the door opens between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And if that occurs, we just send an alert. It connects to our remote support team or you as the provider, your remote support team, and we work a response protocol that everybody agrees with. Document that information. And then the benefits are that there's support from the state, support from the provider, and support from the vendor. Next slide, please. All right, so there's amazing technology out there. So beyond Simply Home, there are hundreds and hundreds of vendors that have the coolest tech that you can think of, like Ring video doorbell or the tablets that are two-way audio video, and thermostats that might be smart thermostats. There's smart fridges, there's smart washers and dryers. So all of those devices could be integrated within the Simply Home platform. Typically, what we see as the concern or as the issue is logging into those takes getting outside of a platform, or you have to log into a number of different apps or websites or platforms for that. So Simply Home has tried to partner with many, many providers across the nation that offer smart devices or standalone support devices that we think are a wildly successful fit with what we do. So then you would log into the Simply Home platform and then have access to control your smart thermostat, to heat the house up or to cool it down, to receive data that you need from the tablet, to see your Ring video doorbell video right within there instead of logging into Ring's specific. So the list goes on, but I hope to bring awareness that we do a lot with already we do a lot with integrated technology. Next slide. All right, I'm going to ask if there are any other thoughts or questions to that. Okay, the client portal. So for providers and family members, we give access to a back-end client portal that provides a wealth of data, a wealth of information. It gives you clarity of the sensitivity of the devices. If you want to reprogram a device. So I'd use that example earlier at David, getting out of bed in the middle of the night. And so say we want to just tweak those hours. You can do that through the client portal. And so as a provider or as a family member or as an individual, we can grant you access that gives you clarity of whether you want to know what's going on with one individual or you need access to all of the individuals that you support. And so our client portal offers that. It offers robust reporting and services, and we do full training to make sure people are on board and comfortable with that and with the alerts and with the acknowledgement of alerts that are offered in that. Next slide. We do the exact same thing through an app. So we have an app that we've created. And so picture cooking safety. We had used the example of cooking, and say our in-person support from the provider was traveling or moving around. They log into that app, or the app notifies them that, hey, the stove has been on and there's been no movement in the kitchen. They can acknowledge that that alert, or they can, what I would call waterfall, they could push that down to the next person that needs to be able to acknowledge it or to help or to support. We have an app, it's fantastic. And so really the intent there is for engagement that you can use on the fly. Next slide. All right, this quote is from a family that uses Simply Home for their sensor-based technology and remote support. And this is a comment from the mother. She says, Simply Home system is not an intrusion system. It's an inclusion system. It does not keep my son out, but keeps him in. It lets him be a part of the world and with society. So I love that quote because there is there's a consistent fear that sensor-based technology, it can be perceived as monitoring. And so what I hope this alleviates is the sensors are there for backup support, for safety, and for awareness of just daily living, what's going on. And the sensors and the technology doesn't care in any direction. There's no emotion to that. And so it simply looks for exceptions. And so with exceptions, we want to respond. And so I love this quote from the family member who said, hey, this actually helps them engage and be further a part of the community that they desire to be a part of. Our sensors are inobtrusive. The individual and the provider and the family own that data. We do not. And we have seen just amazing success with that. All right, next slide. All right, so I talked a lot. I apologize for that on a Friday, but we're passionate about what we do. And so I would love to answer any questions. If not, I'll send my information out of this as well. If you scan this QR, it goes straight to our website. We have a new website. We have worked really hard to bring awareness to remote support services as well as sensor-based technology. We love what we do. We're passionate about it, and we would love to help in any way that we could, and that would start with the QR. All right, are there any questions before I end my presentation?
There looks like there's a question in the chat regarding, is there technology for language translation by Simply Home?
Great question. And so that is fairly new for us. And so we utilize a service. We utilize two national services. And so we have services for spoken language translation. And then we have another service for ASL interpretation, which is a wonderful example of what we're seeing today, which is awesome. And so, yes, to answer that is if you used Simply Home Services, we do have a solution for language translation as well as ASL interpretation. Any other questions?
I have a question. This is Allison White with the DD Council. I was starting to type it in the chat and I thought I'll just come off mute. Do you have, and I'm sorry if I missed this earlier, do you have any data comparisons related to cost of remote supports versus what I would call more traditional supports, I guess, with in-person staff?
We do. We have quite a bit of that. And so we did a significant study within the state of Tennessee, within the state of Kansas, and within the state of Arkansas. And so we have 3 different versions of that we've compiled together. So I want to just like be loud and clear is that ultimately, remote support is not there as a replacement of in-person care. Remote support services are there to either free up hours per day of in-person support that then would be redirected to additional individuals that need that support, which then hopefully opens up for the provider the ability to extend reach, or the remote support there is to come alongside as a tool for the in-person support to be more effective and efficient. And so I do have a flyer for that. I don't exactly know how to send that out to this entire group that's on this call, but I'm happy to send that out to you or to send that out to the team that's putting this on, that they can disperse that.
If you would email that to Charlisa, if you have
Okay.
her contact information, she can attach it, because all of our slides that from presentations are posted on our website, so we could post
Okay.
that flyer as well. I just also
I'll do
want
it.
to add to that the remote support in the district requires that there be at least 20% in person. And so no one ever has exclusively remote, and it requires that we have an on-call person who's available and able to see the person within 30 minutes.
Great. So Allison, I will send that flyer out. And then it is very specific as to our examples of in-person support hours versus remote support hours and what that cost benefit is.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And it's always, I want to acknowledge it's always a difficult conversation to have when you start talking about cost of care when we're talking about human beings' lives. And
Yep.
I also am a family member of somebody with a disability
Yep.
and have had, as I've learned more and more about remote supports, feel like it could be something that could give me as a family member even more peace of mind sometimes than in person. So I appreciate the conversation on that.
Right. Thank you for saying that. All right. Any other questions?
I don't see any others in the chat. I just want to thank you. This was really interesting. Between last week or last month and this month, we're really learning about all the opportunities. And I think the important thing you said about, that it functions alongside other supports. And there are so many things here as I see them that I think could work really well for some people, including me, like that stove. Just so thanks. I think this was a great presentation, and really appreciate this information. If there are no other questions from people, the only other thing on our agenda today was just to see if there was any follow-up questions that people had from people. I expect are all aware that yesterday we had our performance oversight hearing, and I'm wondering if there are any follow-up questions from the oversight hearing or thoughts that people have.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, this is Grace Odrick. So happy to be here. Wow. I couldn't make it to the hearing yesterday. It, um, but it's something on my mind. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to bring up right now or not.
Well, if it relates to the performance of DDS, certainly. If it's an individual issue, you might want to give someone here a call, because Otherwise, you're having a conversation here with 110 people.
Well, it might involve other people besides myself. And I've been in the mental health or the system since 2000. And I just was wondering if anybody else was having I guess maybe I need to talk to somebody, I don't know, faith-based issues. I guess that's what I can call it. Let me explain just it's very serious. People of color like myself and Black people, we pray a lot. We depend on our higher power. And sometimes that gets confused with psychosis. And people think when we get our prayers answered so quickly that we're going through manic attacks. Now, who can I talk to about that? And they put us on medicine.
I think, Grace, you're raising a really important point, which
but
is
not here.
when we receive mental health treatment, we need to make sure that we're getting it from someone who understands and relates to our own cultural views. And religious views are part of our cultural views. And so, what role religion plays in your life and making sure that you have someone who you're working with who understands that and affirms your culture is very important when you're working with someone. I don't want to suggest in any way to people, we're the DDA, we're not, the Department on Disability Services, not Department of Behavioral Health. They do have a number of different providers, but you should definitely talk with whoever the behavioral health provider is about this issue, because it is very important that people feel recognized and seen when they're working with a mental health provider.
Can I say something else? I appreciate what you're saying, but I've been so messed up. I have other issues, developmental issues too. I don't know maybe I'm in the wrong department. I've been through a lot for 26 years and people not listening to me. I feel unheard. And some of the stuff I've been through has caused a lot of other issues. And then when I bring up issues about my intellectual issues, I'm unheard. And I'm 62. This maybe could have been handled 40 years ago. I don't know. Who can I talk to?
If you're getting services from a core service agency in DC from one of the behavioral health agencies,
Okay.
you should have someone assigned who you can speak with. If you also, because we do have folks who are supported by both DDA and DBH, if you also get services from us, please raise this issue with your service coordinator. If you don't get services from us, you should be able to discuss this with DBH.
Okay. I'm with RSA. Well, that's one-on-one issue. About person-centered. So I should talk to Miss Gonzalez or my counselor, Miss Queen.
Well, you could, but as I said, if this is about a behavioral health issue, you should really be speaking to DBH.
Okay, this is with RSA and well,
okay, if you have questions about RSA, then definitely speak with your counselor or your counselor supervisor.
But it's not being resolved. So who's after Miss Gonzalez supervisor?
Then that would be Anjali McGugan.
And after her,
You can also always, that would be Ricky Wright, and then Dr. Austin, and then me, but we're talking right now, so. You could
can I
also,
say it?
you could
I'll
also
get an
call.
appointment.
Let me just let you know, you could also call, and this is good for anyone to know. Anyone who has any customer service concerns about RSA should call 202-442-8686. That's our customer service line, and they will make sure that someone speaks with you to address whatever concerns you have. So, but I want to get back now to our performance hearing from yesterday. I'm sorry you weren't able to make that, Ms. Odrick.
Yeah.
But did anyone else have any thoughts, questions, or comments regarding the performance hearing?
I'm sorry.
No. You raised a very important point. You gave us the opportunity to remind people that we have our customer service line and that they can always call. I'm going to go ahead and put the number in the chat. Oh. Okay, well, I don't hear it. We had a very long day yesterday, so maybe people feel like everything was said. With that said, have a great weekend, everyone. And I don't know if Matt's still with us, but I want to thank him again for a really interesting presentation. And we will speak with everyone again next month. Thank you.